Baba is talking about some subtle mistakes that we make. And Baba says that you have burden of disobedience about small things. So Baba says, overall you are obedient, but you make some small mistakes. And then, there is this thing that we call in Hindi Avangyaka Soch. So Avangyaka Soch means when Baba gives you an agya, which is he gives you a direction, then if you don't obey it fully, then there is a burden of disobedience. So, and this is a very interesting thing, because this burden of disobedience is there in the world also. So, if you are in a body conscious way also, if you are a senior, maybe in the family or in the office or anywhere, you are a person of authority, and then you tell something to the other, you give a direction that you do like this, and then the other person doesn't do it, then they also remember they didn't do it, and you also remember they didn't do it. And that affects your relationship, doesn't it? So you know that you didn't do what they said, and they also know you didn't do what they said. So this is a very subtle thing, and whenever there is a disobedience, there is, of course, in the world, we cannot say it's a karmic burden. Sometimes it may be a karmic burden, sometimes it may not be a karmic burden, but there is definitely a burden. And it could be a burden of ego, it could be a burden of, feeling loss of attachment, but whatever, there is a burden, but I don't know if that is necessarily karmic burden, because sometimes the elders will tell you to do something which is not according to Srimad, and then you disobey them, then there is a burden between you and them, but then karmic burden is not there. So that is another story. But Baba says, when you are disobedient with the father, there is a karmic burden, because Baba and Srimad, so whatever Baba says is Srimad. What is Srimad? Something that makes you elevated. So when you follow Baba, when you do as he says, you become elevated. So obviously when you don't do as he says, then there is a loss that you incur in terms of karma. So that results in a karmic burden. Now Baba says that you are basically obedient, so my children are good, but then sometimes, small things they don't understand, or they are disobedient about it. And there are many things which we can put under this canopy, but Baba is today talking about 3 things, and we will understand that in detail. So Baba says, first thing, you have been directed to wake up at Amrit Vela and sit for meditation, and so you do that, but you cannot achieve success when the silence of sleep is mixed with sweet silence. So Baba says, you definitely wake up in the morning, but then what you do is you mix the silence of sleep with sweet silence. So what children do is, instead of sleeping in the bed, they sleep on the chair. at Amrit Vela, and then they sleep back on the bed at 4:45. So I remember there was this one sister, and she had come to stay in the center for some time. And then every day, what she would do is, when I would sit for Amrit Vela, she would find a place behind me and sit. So she would never sit in front of me, because then I can see her, right? So she would find a place behind me, and then she would sit. And because you're in the center, you have to get up, right? So you will not, it can't happen that you lay on the bed. So she used to get up, and then when she would find a place in the back, and then she would sit, and that whole 45 minutes she would sleep. And because she didn't snore, we couldn't find out. But then one day what happened is, I had to tell her something, So I was leaving for something, and I had to tell her something. And then I called out to her 3 times and she couldn't hear it. And then I didn't tell her anything, and then I checked for 2 days, and she was sleeping that whole time. So instead of sleeping on the bed, she used to sleep on the chair and then spend that 45 minutes. And then she would say, I am feeling sleepy, Didi, so can I sleep after Amrit Vela? So I'd say, okay, you are new, you can. So then she would go and sleep in the bed. So this is what children do. So, Baba says that children are actually fantastic, So we can do these things. So Baba says that you get up because I tell you to get up, but then what you do is, instead of the sweet silence, you experience the silence of sleep. And the interesting thing is, some children are not even able to distinguish between the two. And after the Amrit Vela, they feel that they had a very good meditation also. Because again, the silence of sleep is also silence. So you feel that you meditated. And I remember this one Mata, and there was a Yog Bhatti. And in that whole Yog Bhatti, because she was in the front, so I could see her. So in that whole Yog Bhatti, she slept like this, and she fell here and there, and she was like sleeping in her own, she was rejoicing in that sleep. And then after the Yog Bhatti, she came and told me, Didi, the kind of experience I had today in Yog Bhatti, it was unprecedented. I have never felt this kind of peace. So I told her, probably you've not slept well for many days. So that's the kind of experience you had, but whatever it is, okay. So this is how, we mix the two. And then Baba says, this is not being obedient. So Baba has asked you to sit in meditation. And let me tell you that, only conscious yoga with Baba can finish our burden of sins. Sleep cannot finish our burden of sins. And Baba says, Amrit Vela is the time of nectar. And don't waste that time. Don't put it to waste. It's a very powerful time, and I have to use that time and the silence of that time and sit in sweet communion with Baba and finish my burden of sins. So don't waste that time. And if we do that, that's adding to our karmic burden. So then the second thing Baba says is, the Father's direction is, do not cause sorrow or take sorrow from any soul. So you don't cause sorrow, okay, but you do take it. This is also another thing that children do, is They are sometimes very wary of not causing sorrow, but most children take sorrow. And when you cause sorrow, it's like creating bad karma, right? So you're doing vikarma. But then, do you understand that taking sorrow is even worse? Because you are suffering another person's karma. So, somebody said something, but you take it to heart and make it your suffering. That means you are creating a karma which is not even initiated by you, but you take on that thing and you suffer because of another person's karma. And this is, why should you suffer another person's karma? If somebody says something which is not pure, somebody has some ill wish in the heart, or somebody speaks or does something to put you down, then that's their karma. So let them, deal with that. Why do you have to take on their karma and suffer because of that? So whatever anybody does, so let them be welcome to their karma. Why are you welcoming it in your heart and suffering because of it? So that is a very agyani action. So, and the interesting thing is, you know who you are, and Baba himself is telling me every day who I am, or what should I do, or what will be my destiny. And if somebody says the opposite of that, or does something which affects me in a different way, then why should I take that? Because that is the action of a weak soul. So why should I take that action to heart and suffer because of that? Yes, so there was once this scenario where somebody spoke wrong things and spread wrong things about me, and then there was another person who said that they are speaking ill of you, and you should do something about it. So I said, if they are speaking ill about me, that's something they should do something about, not me. I have absolutely no problem in people spoiling their own karma. I'm okay. I'm fine. I know who I am. Baba is talking to me every day. I'm 100% sure about who I was, who I am, and who I will be. I don't need anybody's opinion for that. And if somebody has an opinion, somebody is doing a karma, they are welcome to their opinion and karma. Let them continue. So you don't have to take sorrow. Never take sorrow, because it's completely up to you whether you take sorrow or not take sorrow. Yes, but just like so one thing we have to understand, we do everything in accordance with our sanskar. Our karma is a product of our sanskar. Just like we had a sanskar of giving sorrow, we had a sanskar of taking sorrow also. And when we come to Baba, we listen to Baba and we work on that sanskar of giving sorrow, don't we? Obviously, there was a sanskar of giving sorrow, whether it is sorrow through lust or anger or anything, you see, body conscious, drishti. So we gave a lot of sorrow earlier, and we worked on not giving sorrow. So that's why we don't give sorrow, because it's a work. So you have to do some purusharth for it. But then we don't do equal work about not taking sorrow. Because in bhakti, we have been trained to think that taking sorrow is a sign of humility. So if somebody is stabbing you, you should feel hurt. Otherwise, they would feel hurt that they couldn't stab you. So you feel like, there is some kind of moral responsibility for you to feel hurt if somebody is trying to hurt you. But Baba says, no, that is not the sign of a jnani soul. You must know that you are your own, you are the master of your senses, your mind, your destiny, and you have the power to choose what to give and also the power to choose what to take. Yes, and everybody can exercise their power, and this is a world of survival of the fittest. And in spirituality also, if you have to survive, you have to be very fit. And what is fit? If you take on these infections, if you are not immune to the sorrow in the environment, then you're not fit. So, if somebody says that I don't spread infection, but I catch infection very fast. So if there is a virus in the environment or bacteria, then I catch infection very fast. Then that's not the sign of a healthy body. Similarly, it's not the sign of a healthy soul, a fit soul, who catches infection of sorrow. So if somebody is, trying to give you sorrow, nobody can give you sorrow actually. So if somebody is trying to give you sorrow through thoughts, words, actions, propaganda, there could be many things that people do. So they are trying to do many things, but then Baba says that don't take sorrow. That's up to you, and that's up to your fitness. Just like you cannot say that if there is germs in the air, then I have to catch infection. Similarly, you cannot say that if somebody is giving sorrow, I have to take it. No, it's up to your spiritual immunity. And if you're not that fit, then you're not fit to survive in the spiritual path. And what I have understood is Baba tells in Murli very clearly that when I give you the Rajai, when I give you the kingship, I test you properly. So, and Ramesh Bhai Sahib used to say something very nice. He used to say that, when you buy a ghada, so that earthen pot, you knock it properly and check whether it is firm. So it costs so less, and still you knock it from all the sides and check and take it. And Baba is giving you the kingship of heaven, so will the drama not knock you and check? So there will be situations which will put you under a lot of pressure, and they will bring out the vice inside you to emerge. And nobody gives sorrow just like that. So when the drama squeezes you and you're put under pressure, so too much work, no help, this, that, so then still are you able to be peaceful and sweet? That is the challenge. And then if there is a lot of sorrow coming from outside, still are you able to stabilize yourself in your self-respect, and in despite all the noises about who calls you who, do you know who you really are? That's the question. And Baba says this is something we have to be very careful about. And don't mix this up, because there is this thing that, we mix up taking sorrow with humility, and we think that it is okay to take sorrow. And some people, they very proudly say, I'm very sensitive. So Baba says, no, don't be sensitive, be sensible. Who asked you to be sensitive? Baba doesn't like sensitive. Do you know what Baba calls sensitive souls? Touch me not plant. So have you seen that touch me not plant? You go near it, it just wilts. So Baba says, don't be like that chui mui ka patta. So I don't want those souls. Baba says, I need lions and lionesses on this path. So that is what Baba says. Don't give sorrow, don't take sorrow. However much pressure there is, sometimes there'll be so much pressure of managing time, managing resources. You will be very constrained with resources. You will be very constrained with time. There will be no help from relationships. You will have constraints about cooperative souls. But remember, you can't give sorrow. Your thought, word, action should create a very powerful, benevolent atmosphere around you. And then never take sorrow, come what may, because the bestower of happiness is your Father. And when your heart is full of what Baba has given, you cannot take the opposite of that given by a human. So that's something. It's beyond our dignity to do that. So, if your Father has given you loads of happiness, and then you take something which is sorrowful from a human and keep it in your heart, that is insulting Baba. So this is something. So pay very good attention to both of these points. And the third point is, you don't get angry, but you become bossy. So anger, okay, we don't, but bossiness. And I will tell you one thing, that in this journey, what I have realized is, sometimes, so just like any person cannot see his blind spot. So do you know this blind spot? It's behind the head. You can't see it. Similarly, you can't see your own sanskar. And you can't see the damage your sanskar is doing. And it is only in the light of knowledge, and when you come to Baba, and with yoga power and the practice that we do, everything we do in Srimad, that kind of gives us the third eye to see our sanskars, because in the world we can't see our sanskars. And on this path, I have increasingly realized the damage we do through anger to others. And this bossiness, this anger, it is a culture with us. So we don't call anger anger anymore. We don't call bossiness bossiness anymore. We say this is a personality, and we don't even consider it sometimes. But if there was a method to measure it, I feel that at least 70% of the spiritual damage of every soul is done by anger and bossiness. And of course, lust is another one, but then at least, lust takes on later. But anger and bossiness is something that damages a child a lot. And that when there is anger inside you or bossiness inside you, then there is an environment you create where a soul is not able to express himself the way they are. And if you just stifle a seed, it's not allowed to germinate. So if you don't, so do you know that the greatest service is to create a pure environment? So today also Baba says that, it's purity, making pure, being pure is the greatest service. And how do you make anyone pure? By giving that pure environment, an environment where there's no vibration of lust, no vibration of anger, no vibration of ego, no vibration of greed and attachment. And when I came into Gyan, we took on the seva, and then there was always this question, because I worked in an office, so we always have you have a profile. So what do you have to do? What is your job? That's a question you ask in office, right? What am I required to do here? So I once asked this question to one senior: what is my primary job in the center? So what is that which I have to actually pay attention to? And then they said that you have to do seva, you have to give the course, this and that. But I was not very satisfied with that, and I kept thinking about this and asking Baba again and again, what is my primary job in the center or in the world or as a BK? What is my job actually? And then I slowly, gradually realized that creating spaces with our purusharth and vibration and conduct, creating spaces which are pure, free from the vibration of lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed. By being that, when you are that and you create that space, and then in that space you plant the seed of knowledge whenever a soul comes. Then the knowledge is about being pure. Basically, what is the knowledge that we teach? The knowledge is about being pure, about embracing purity in every aspect of life. So Baba says that that's your job. And in the world, there is a vibration of lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed everywhere. And that vibration, which is, again expressed through words sometimes, through acts sometimes. So words of anger, acts of lust, acts of anger, or these are the things, or the vibration of anger, they damage everybody. And when children grow in that environment, it damages the soul. The soul cannot have a growth in that kind of environment. And that is why spiritual growth is so stifled in every Lokik home. And Baba says that when you are Baba's child, don't do that. Don't create an environment of bossiness, or don't use anger. And I have seen people who are wounded by anger suffer from it even when they are in their 50s or 60s. So that anger which they have suffered in childhood, or when women get married also, sometimes in the new home they suffer a lot of anger, or in the maternal home if you have seen a lot of anger, then that anger. And I saw one sister when she used to sit in the meditation room, And if somebody went there, she would get startled, she would just get very startled. And one day she was sitting in the meditation room, and I had to talk to her, and I just touched her from the very slightly in the back, and she just jumped out of fear. And then I felt that there is a lot of wound inside. So there is so much of fear and so much of trauma inside because of this anger. And Baba says that don't do that. Don't create an environment of bossiness or check your personality if that is there. Check your personality. Check whether there is anger. Check whether there's bossiness. Why can't you just create an environment of love and encouragement and motivation and courage around you? And that happens when you follow Srimad. So Baba says this is something, and there are two things Baba always talks about: lust and anger. And they are the biggest weapons of violence against the soul. And there was this one Mata, and she always told me that, Didi, when I got married, my father-in-law was a very angry person, and he used to just throw away, if he didn't like what I cooked, he used to just throw the plate. And then she said, even after 20 years of marriage, if they come to the place I am in, now he is a changed man, my life is a changed life, but I really suffer all the days he is around. And I cannot feel comfortable. Even in my sleep, I feel like if he calls and I don't listen, then what would happen? So it's not like he behaves the same way now. He is a changed person in these 20 years. But I somehow cannot wrap my head around it, and I have problems in staying comfortable in their presence. And even when I think about him, I feel shivers. So just think about these things. And in this spiritual path, I have slowly, gradually realized the damage you can do through anger and bossiness. I did not have any idea when I came into Gyan how much anger and bossiness damages a soul. But now I do, and I understand that that is something you have to take care of. So, and of course, if it damages the other soul, then it obviously adds to your karmic burden. So that is there. And then in today's Murli, Baba says that Baba has spoken about a lot of things, but very easy to understand. And today Baba says that only at this time do you recognize each other and Baba. And only those who are those lost and found souls, they recognize Baba and they recognize each other. And it is very interesting, when children used to go to meet Sakar Baba, then Baba used to ask some questions to children. And one question that Baba asked every child when they went to meet Baba was, have you come here before? And if the child said, yes, every 5,000 years we have met, then Baba used to say, you passed. And if the child said that I have come here for the first time, then Baba would say that the teacher has not taught well. So, and sometimes, you listen to these things, but you don't appreciate that if God says this, there must be a secret behind it. And it's very interesting that this recognition, so when somebody asks you all of a sudden, you cannot talk from Gyan. So when the soul takes the course, then there is a certain recognition that comes in that yes, this is my Baba, this is my family, and I've been here every 5,000 years. There is this recognition. And Baba used to ask this question, and I always wondered, what if somebody just said, yes, I've met you 5,000 years before, and still he's not Baba's child? So, I used to have this thought in my mind, is it such a big question? And then I will share one experience about it. So, there was this Mata, and she did the course. And then what happened is, there was one elder sister who had come to the center, and she, after the course, she met her. Just she had finished the course. And then that sister said, I think I've seen you somewhere. And this sister promptly said, Didi, you've seen me 5,000 years back. We all belong here every 5,000 years. Promptly she said that. And then, after some days, she didn't come to class. And I kept struggling with this thing, that how is it possible that she gave the right answer and then she didn't come to class? It's not possible. If she is recognized, she is a deity soul. And I kept thinking about it, and we had no contact absolutely for 2 years or so. So just the normal messaging and all. And she never visited the center. But all of a sudden, after 2 years, she started coming to the center and she became Baba's right hand. And then one day I told her, I knew you would come. So she said, why? I said, because you gave the right answer. And ever since you gave that answer, I knew that you were Baba's child. And when Baba says, you cannot recognize me and recognize each other if you're not that deity soul, then I wondered that if you don't come, then I would say that Baba's version is wrong, and that can't be. So you had to come. So then she said, Didi, I had some limitations at that time, and now I have overcome those limitations, and now I have come. But ever since I came to Baba, I know that this is where I belong. So this is one experience I shared about what Baba said today. And then today in the Murli, Baba says that, never say, Baba says that you have to make fast effort, because now this is the final time, and you have been given this knowledge that this is the final time, and you have to go to the new world, and you have to make effort for that. Don't think that, whatever will be in my destiny will be done. No. When God comes and teaches us to make effort, then Baba today gives us a law, effort first. Yes, because effort first. When you make the effort, you recognize the destiny. So have you seen those batteries that are discharged? Okay. Now, when the batteries are discharged, they may be capable of different volumes of charge, and every battery is different. But how do you find out how much charge any battery can take until you charge it? So Baba says everybody is a discharged battery, everybody is different, and yes, of course, everybody's destiny is different, but then until you make that effort, how do you know what is your destiny? So in order to recognize your destiny also, you have to make effort. Without charging, you cannot know the capacity of the battery. So Baba says, just make effort. Effort is first. And Baba also says that the effort to be pure and make pure is the greatest service, which we discussed earlier also. Okay, Om Shanti.